Hey guys, Dan from DK Stainless. Today we're going to go through and polish these two bits that we welded together last week, the fuse ones and the ones that we welded with filler wire, and turn them into this, completely polished. Whoop, almost dropped it. Stick around. All right guys, some of the tools required to go through and polish stainless to a number 4 or even higher up to a number 8. Your hammer, paddle hammer, dolly or like a dressing plate. You need a grinder just to grind things down or grind the excess material off. One of these soft pads are awesome with the hook and loop, and I recommend using an 80 grit, 240 grit and a 400 grit. Something else is very handy is one of these inline polishers with a 3M grey wheel or a Vertex wheel is what they call it. They've got many, many different names, grey wheel. And to finish it off, we use some green pads and some black pads. That's just to finish and to get that grain perfect. All right, guys, so we're going to start off with the part that was fused both sides. Now, the way we're going to do this is we're actually going to turn it over to the back side, and we're actually going to dress it down. Therefore, it should make this surface completely flat, and then we can start grinding. If we were to start grinding now, you'll actually see a ridge that has been created from this weld. So let's do that now. All right, as you can see, some of the marks there, it's actually pushed that to the surface. Now I can feel it's slightly low in some areas, but we'll give it a quick grind and see how we actually went. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to clamp the top of this. So I'm not going to grind the last 10 or 15 mil, just so I can hold this properly and easily, but you'll get the idea. It'd be good if I put this pad on properly. That's not good. That's way out. Much better. All right, guys, look at that. First pass with an 80 grit and almost that weld's completely taken out. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do one more run over it with an 80 grit, and then we'll start working our way back. What you'll find is all the grind marks are going this way. What we're going to do is actually going to go the other way as well. That way we don't dig too many ridges. So we're going to go this way, then we're going to go that way. Just like that. Can't even tell it's been welded. So now we're going to go to a 240 grit. So the aim of this with the 240 grit is to actually get rid of the 80 grit grind marks. You can still see some there, but it is getting them out. So we'll just go over it once, maybe twice more, and then we'll jump straight into the 400 grit. All right, guys, we're almost there. I can see there's a couple of tiny little grind marks that are still a little bit deep, but it's pretty consistent. So I'm just going to get them out, then we'll go straight to the 400 grit. All right. Now what we're going to do is go straight to the 400 grit. Now you can go higher up to your 800s, but usually with a grey wheel and a 400 grit, go over it a couple of times, all the grind marks come completely out and you actually start seeing the grain come through into it. As I'm grinding, I'm not trying to stop in one spot and create a ridge. I'm just trying to be consistent and smooth. Not a lot of pressure. The more pressure you apply to the grinder, the more it's going to dig. So just go over it a couple of times, nice and smooth. Let the actual sanding pad do the work, and they'll actually help create a real nice finish. All right, guys, as you can see, that's becoming really quite smooth. You can almost see it, it's really reflective, almost starting to go to like a mirror finish. So now that we've done that, now we're going to go grab this grey wheel and start putting a stainless grain in it. For the purpose of this, I'm going to run the same way that the parent grain is. So I'm just going to run it this way. I'm just going to clamp it down just so it doesn't move. I need to just put another clamp on it. So we're just going to completely grain just that middle part. It's just a little bit unsafe for it to not have that second clamp. It'll just go flying and shoot out there like a bullet. All right, now what we can do is, because I've only done half of it really, is we can just flip this over, like so. Clamp the top, clamp the bottom. Usually this isn't an issue because usually the parts that we're usually polishing is a lot larger. Alrighty guys, as you can see, that's really hidden that weld to the point where you can't really tell whether it's going up, down, left or right. Now there's a couple of different ways we can finish this off. We can use a black pad. That's a lot coarser grain that's going to produce. So I don't believe we're going to need this in this instance. We're going to go straight to a green. Now you can just do it dry without any lubrication or water. So we're going to do that. Then the final cut, we're going to use a little bit of lubrication, a little bit of water. The aim of the game with this green pad is just to go with the grain. So consistency is key, just going backwards and forwards across that entire area and just graining that stainless. As you can see, it's actually getting smoother and smoother, and the grain's getting more and more consistent. All right, we'll just do a bit more. So if you guys at home have a stainless steel sink and it's all scratched, you can actually use these green pads, and if you're good, well, when I say good, if you're consistent with how the green pad sits, you can actually create a grain going through that sink and completely, not completely, but almost hide all of those scratches in that sink. It's a good way to make it look almost new again. As you can see along the sides here, along that top, you can actually see just the powder coming off. That's the actual green powder actually cutting into that stainless, surprisingly. And guys, there you have it. That's how you polish stainless steel. If you hadn't known previously that was welded, you would think that that's just a square plate. However, certainly isn't. It's two different plates. All right, guys, now I'm going to show you how we do it with the two plates that were welded together with filler wire. Similar principle, a little bit more work. Check this one out. All right, guys, now we're going to go through and polish the weld that had the filler wire in it. First and foremost, we're going to need to go through and take off all the excess material. Then we'll have to go through and start dressing it. All right, guys, as you can see, we're low either side of the weld. So I'm just going to do one more pass with an 80 grit, with a brand new 80 grit, and then we'll go through and actually start dressing. Whenever you're grinding, especially a weld off where it comes to polishing, it's always good to use new pads, because as the pad wears, you naturally just put more pressure down, which then therefore means that the actual parent material, or the actual material here, will start heating up more, which then will create more distortion, and you'll just be fighting it the entire way. All right. That's about as far as I want to go. As you can see, we're close, but we still have some low points that we need to now dress to make flat. This one's going to be a little bit more time consuming than the fusing both sides, as there's a fair bit to go. If you find when you have something like this, you can't get a low point easily, you can always just use a dolly, like the chisels that not sharp, that have a bit of a blunter nose, and you can just actually hit either side of the weld where it's low, and that'll actually force the material up. But that's only if you know that the other side's not going to get seen. Otherwise, you'll have dints and everything else on the other side, which won't look real nice. All right, now that's done, we'll go through and we'll give it another grind. I can guarantee you we won't have taken all of this out. We'll have to go through and dress it again. All right, guys, as you can see there, it's getting there slowly but surely. I don't want to keep grinding because the material will start getting thinner and thinner and thinner. So we're going to go through and dress it again. You can see here, got a couple of slight low points. So I'm actually going to dress that with a dolly instead of just using the flat face. What you can do is you can just go through and hit it like that, and you'll actually see the imprint on the other side to see whether you've actually hit it or not, hit the right spot. I got it that time. Now, the more you grind, especially if you don't have a lot of penetration, the more chance you have of cracking the weld. And that's what you don't want. So you just have to go a little bit more gentle. Just take your time. get it all out. But I reckon with this one, I reckon we'll knock it over with this pass. Alrighty guys, there you have it. That weld is now ready to sand out and start polishing. As you've noticed, two very, very different ways of doing things. You need to replace this pad. You will notice when you're polishing stainless or going through grinding, trying to get grind marks out, you will go through a fair few pads. That's just the nature of the beast. Again, you don't, even if there's a little bit of meat left on them, you don't really particularly want to use it, especially when you're trying to get rid of grind marks, because again, you'll just create heat, more heat, therefore you have more chance of distortion and higher chance of that weld cracking. As you can see, I'm just going through different ways. That's actually allowing me to see any more, any grind marks inside the stainless. It just makes it a lot easier to see them, and you can just go through and just slowly work them out. I'm going to go grab a brand new 240 disc. That's starting to get a bit hot. Just to prove it to you, you can hear the sizzle. Look at that straight away. She's getting hot, so a bit for me too. So you want to make sure that's probably a little bit too hot. You don't want your stains to get that hot, because that will start deforming, and then eventually you'll start cracking. So you don't want that. All right, now that's 240 done. I'm gonna go through and use a 400. Oh, there's a little bit more left over in that 400. But we'll keep going. All right. Just need a new one. Again, you will go through some pads. Now this is only 150 mil, so you can imagine if you're doing this with a deck weld, for instance, and you had a deck that's 700 wide, you'll go through a lot, and it'll take a lot of time to go through it too. So just be prepared. All right, that's also starting to get hot again. So you just have to be very, very careful. We're almost there, guys. We've got just a couple little grind marks. I'm a stickler when it comes to grind marks. I hate seeing them after someone's polished something. It's just frustrates me. All right, so now a little bit more to go. And I think we'll be able to use this one to finish it off. I can actually feel where I put that water, it will actually slightly raise that stainless. So it just goes to show, just even because you had differential temperature there, the stainless actually warped up. So don't get stainless hot. All right, just like last time. Yeah, guys, starting to put that grain in now. Turn it around. All right. I'll flip it around one last time. This time though, just to show you guys what it looks like, we'll use the black pad and then we'll go in and use that green pad. You can see straight away how much coarser it is. I just saw a couple of grind marks. Gosh, not good. Not good enough, I say. Anyway, I'll overlook it for this one. Then we'll go through. We'll just use this green pad. All right, guys, there you have it. This is our part that had the filler wire. As you can see, we've ground it, we've dressed it, we've ground it, and we've polished it. So that's where it's been joined, and that's how we finished it. All right, guys, if you like seeing this and you'd like to see some more tips and tricks within the sheet metal trade, make sure you comment down below and we'll be sure to make some more videos. Cheers, guys.